for LSU, as LSU was able to wide receiver was in a position that has been a little bit of cause of concern as far as what's going on the trail. Obviously, we saw DK Moore choose Oregon. You've heard names like Jamie French, who is trending towards Texas. We've seen Khalid Lockett out there as a possible target, but trending towards other schools. Derek Meadows' name really came, not necessarily out of nowhere a couple of weeks back, but definitely the interest in LSU jolted up after Meadows made a visit down here and was able to spend time with the staff. Cortez Hankton, obviously, who's one of the dominant recruiters on LSU staff, was able to really sit down, talk to him, and show him what the plan is for the big 6'6" target out of Bishop Gorman High School in Las Vegas. If anybody is making the trip out to Vegas, I would recommend. Lil J and I were out there last summer for NBA Summer League. In fact, it was like this week a year ago we were out there watching NBA Summer League, and one of the things we did, just kind of killing time, and we had a rental car during the day. You can only spend so much time in the gym. Was we drove past the campus of Bishop Gorman High School.
Cool.
Beautiful
and
school.
I'm telling you, it has to be within the top 2% of high school campuses in the country as far as just it. I mean, it is so plush, beautiful, widespread facilities. It looks like a college. I mean, just the thought, the idea of going to high school at a place like that is just incredible.
This is absurd.
It's absurd.
It looks like a Lego. It looks like a Lego set.
It is absurd. It is absurd. I would advise anybody going out there to Vegas, if you've got that type, if you got a little day, or not even a day. I mean, if you're just driving around and you're thinking, what is there to see in Vegas outside of the Strip, the lights, the casino? What you can see in all just you see it in 2 minutes. If you're like, let me get out of here, let me go see some other stuff. Let me go check out Bishop Gorman High School if you want to have your mind blown.
Can you pull
what
up a picture of
the
this on
facilities look like at this place.
How do you? There's no way you need this many buildings.
I mean,
how many classes are we taking? How many people are here?
And then Vegas a private school too.
It is.
It's amazing. I mean, really, to see it up close, it's amazing. But he goes to Bishop Gorman. He picked LSU over Notre Dame and Alabama, which gives you an idea of that. To me, is a great signifier of the player and the caliber. I don't necessarily I believe stars tell you a lot about a recruit, because I believe a lot of these people that are doing the evaluations and are doing the research, they put a ton of time in. They know what they're looking at. They look at this film. So I mean, if a lot of these guys, a lot of these people are saying consistently the same thing about the same player, odds are that's where they fit. But what is the clear indicator to me, like Vegas is to sports? Forget what you hear people, talking heads, prognosticator, people talking about, what does Vegas say? That's kind of, there's no bias. That's the true indicator of kind of where it lies. I mean, I believe when you're looking at a recruit, when you're looking at somebody who is choosing their schools, who do they have committable, signable offers from, and do they choose you over? And if Alabama and Notre Dame are looking at Derek Meadows and saying that's who we want as well, and LSU beat those schools out for them, that tells you the quality of player that Meadows is. And look, he's a high-star player. He's a 5-star in some circles. He's a 4-star in a lot of the circles. But he's 6'6" and runs incredible for his size, and
The hands.
very much looks like 3 years from now is going to be a completely looking different prospect than what he does now. And he's freaky looking now. I mean, he looks like somebody he's just so much better and bigger than everybody in high school. I mean, he's got great hands. He can run. But I just think in a college weight room, even in a program like Bishop Gorman, where I mean it's probably as close comparison to big time college as any high school could commit to, but getting around college players, college practices, coaches, nutrition systems, weight programs, film programs. I mean, he is going to make a major leap just from the physical tools that Meadows has. And for LSU, you go get a huge target. I mean, number 6 wide receiver in the country, according to 247 Sports. On 3 has him as a top 5 prospect at wide receiver. I mean, he is a big time player, and for LSU, who has been looking to get that other receiver in this class to go alongside Teron Francis, who is a freak in his own right, is a solid one, big time player in Derek Meadows. Big get.
Oh God! I mean, imagine a world with Shelton Sampson, Derek Meadows, Trey'Dez Green, and Pimpton all on the field at the same time. Like, that's height on height. You'll be looking around and going, "Who can't I throw it to?" Somebody's going to be open. It just, the air up there is rare. So the way that the LSU roster is constructed is a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. Like, kind of the 6'1", 6'2", like freak athlete. Like, I think of like Brennan LaFell, Early Doucette, Devery Henderson, like those type of guys that are like, they are just freak athletes. But this is like a different type of freak when you're adding 5 inches to those cats.
Yeah.
And it's just
the basketball player.
Right, they're basketball players out there. And that is just a world where I don't mind living in, because as a quarterback, who I think it's safe to will presume to be the number 1 quarterback in the country coming in, and Bryce Underwood will be the trigger man for those people. He'd be like, "Oh my God, thank you,
Underwood."
That guy's a freak among
freaks. Who's the
freaks.
number 2 quarterback?
That's how much. That's
like I couldn't. Is he going to Ohio State?
Yes.
Is he out of Texas?
Tavian St. Clair, I think is his name. I think that's the second ranked quarterback.
But that's how much you talk about Underwood, where it's like him and everybody else.
I have no idea.
Like, if you come in second in this race,
Tavian St. Clair going to Ohio State.
Texas?
He's from Ohio.
He's from Ohio.
Oh, and then Julian Lewis going to SC, Houston Longstreet going to A&M, Keelan Russell, Bama. But I mean, LSU at the top of this list is remarkable. Bryce Underwood, far and away, just the name that everybody brings up whenever you talk about that recruiting class and quarterbacks. Like, that's the golden goose. And it feels like we don't talk about it enough, because it feels like we're scared to talk about it a little bit. But it feels so secure that it's like, okay, yeah, he's in the boat. But it's just, I don't think we're accustomed to seeing a guy like that commit this early and hold his commitment with no games being played.
I know, it's crazy. It really is.
Hadn't played a game at all.
By no means am I comparing the players, the style, the mentality, the kids, the person, but it feels a lot like Ben Simmons' recruitment, where it was like, this guy's not going anywhere.
I'm going to LSU.
I mean, he was asked, he's like, I'm going to LSU. Like, and as soon as I can sign, I'm signing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was never even, it felt like he was going anywhere else. Now, you wish it would have worked out differently. When Simmons got here, and I expect it will for Underwood. And then on the other side of recruiting, LSU missed out on a former pledge who is headed to Miami, according to Jabari Antoine. He committed to Miami on Saturday. Chose LSU. He chose Miami over LSU and Florida State. But look, I'm by no means am I. That's fine if this works out that way. I don't expect this to be over just yet. I think that LSU is making hard pushes here on Antoine, and Antoine wants to feel the love, and Miami is spreading a lot of love, and they're playing the game like they should be. I'm not complaining at all on what Miami is doing. They're doing a really good job. They've got Louisiana ties over there. Chevis Jackson, former LSU cornerback, is the defensive backs coach. Lance Guidry, Louisiana native, former McNeese DC, is running the defense over in Coral Gables. So, I mean, look, there's a lot of Louisiana flair on Miami's staff that they are utilizing and doing it very They're doing it with they're doing it very smart. And Antoine, if he ends up going to Miami as he committed to on Saturday, would be a huge pickup for the Canes. I just am not yet ready to throw the towel in for LSU. I think LSU is making Jabari Antoine a very high, untouchable type priority where, he will feel the love over the next couple of weeks and will, really kind of get what he's looking for from his home state school. If he ends up going to Miami, good on him. LSU's gonna make it hard for him to leave the state without seriously considering committing back to LSU.
Yeah, I seriously don't see this like him going to Miami. I mean, I think he just kind of Miami gave him a deal that he couldn't refuse in a sense, and Miami was his first offer. You got to respect that. Like he gave them another chance once he decommitted from LSU, and now he's committed to him. So I guess he just had to give them, something to get the deal done on his end. And now LSU's just full court press on now to get him back.
And really and truly, let me just say this. 2 months ago, if you would have said Jabari Antoine, DJ Pickett, if you get one of the two, are you happy with it? I would have said yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you would have said you can't pick which one, are you happy with getting one of the two? I would have just said yes because, recruiting is it's a hell of a deal, man. I mean, to get those two types of players in a class, that's a lot of work, a lot of commitment, a lot of attention. I really do believe now, if you're asking me on July 22nd how I feel more secure that they're going to land Antoine and put him into the class and keep Pickett in the class as well than I do on them missing out on Antoine when it comes down to signing day, right? LSU's NIL package and world is starting to really shape up. They are doing really good work behind the scenes of organizing and now being able to show return on investment to a degree to the investor and why it would make sense on helping out the program, the university, the player. So I think that, LSU is in a much more competitive space or trending towards much more of a competitive space than they have been, which is setting them up and giving them the opportunity to get into these conversations. And not saying that that's what, Antoine is solely looking for. I think he's going to get his NIL deal. I think he'll have something that's competitive. I don't know necessarily if it'll be competitive what Miami is offering. But remember, I still believe, like we talked about last week, when it comes down to this NIL stuff, yes, there's going to be times where the highest bidder is going to win. No questions, no comments, nothing. Like, that's whoever pays me the most, I'm going. I still believe that as long as your offer is competitive, and when I say competitive, there's things geographically that schools can offer that other schools just can't compete with. As long as LSU is staying in the ballpark of maximizing what they can offer, whatever it may be. I'm not privy on the information enough to speak on what they could offer, but as long as it's competitive in the sense of the player feels respected, the player feels like, all right, they're going to take care of me. This is when the old school part of recruiting kicks back up, right? I mean, what Antoine has in the LSU staff can't be recreated anywhere else. Florida State, Miami. You can bring Louisiana guys to South Beach, which I know South Beach has a ton to sell from a geographic standpoint compared to Louisiana and Baton Rouge. But for Antoine, it's not home. It's not LSU. It's not the school he grew up wanting to play at, who's offering a great opportunity to come in a talented class and be one of the headline guys on with a competitive NIL deal. And people ask him, well, then why didn't he just commit this weekend? Well, I can't answer that for the kid, but in the sense of recruiting, recruiting now is leverage, right? I think that you'll see this more of these flips, these teams, these guys that are committing to programs and then they decommit and flip late in the process. They're probably using the commitment, the team as leverage, a lot like in free agency NFL teams do. I mean, that's where we are. I mean, that's what this is. We talked about the schedule 20 minutes ago. The schedule is more comparable to the NFL. The offseason negotiation is going to be more comparable to the NFL. The money is more comparable to the NFL. I mean, it's as much as they want to try and
separate themselves to where it's a different,
becoming
collegiate
closer.
athletics. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I think you still want. There's some people, and good on you, that still are trying to fight this battle that's happening, where you're very much seeing the college football copy the NFL model. Like, it's not. You'd have to be just ignorant to ignore that what they're doing is they're building up to becoming a league where it might be AFC, NFC. Like, at some point you might get there, but they see the money. Like, that's the only reason that all this is happening. Now with NIL, and they have some parts of it right, they have some parts of it wrong, but at some point it's all going to come together and become a league where you look at and go, that's NFL light. Like, that's what it's going to be. And I don't know how you could look at any other reason other than look at the billions and billions and billions of dollars the NFL is making and college football is lacking and not being able to produce that amount of revenue. And they're going, why can't we? It's the second most popular sport in the country.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Remember, Daily